Geek Culture Online. I'm your host, Patrick Boland. Well, before anything starts, house cleaning is in order. We've been off the air for a year. Many reasons. One of them was that I had several roles on TV shows and movies. We'll talk about that as time goes on. It's not like I have a speaking part. It's all extra work, so therefore I'm just in the background. Another reason is, COVID. So we'll leave that alone and just that's self-explanatory. But all these things are going to change in 2021. With the new year, we're going to get back to doing weekly shows. I'm going to be going back to doing social media weekly, and we have a new Patreon page that will be going up on Friday as well. So to start things off now, we're going to throw out the new format that we had planned because we wanted to start off the new year and talk about a hot new topic in the geek world. Marvel and Disney Plus, or Disney Plus, as I've heard it being called, has a new show that's going to be airing on Friday. And we're doing this way before the show because we wanted to do kind of a post or a pre description on what we know and what's going to happen. Now I'm going to stop babbling and I'm going to introduce our guest host, Ethan. And welcome back, Ethan. And how is your geek flag waving this week?
It's waving high, Patrick. First of all, thanks for having me back on the show. It's great to be back in the saddle. It has been a while. I think since we did Endgame, right? That was our last time we were together. That's been a while.
Yes,
of course, everything has been kind of on pause for the last year, as you said, including a lot of the geek items. You know, Marvel. This is going to be the first thing from the MCU since Spider-Man: Far From Home, but like a year and a half ago. So it's been a long while. We've been waiting for something good to see, and sounds very promising for Friday. I'll just say that.
Yes. For the people that aren't really familiar with these characters, granted, there's been 23 movies and a few Netflix shows out there, but none of them have revolved around the two characters, Wanda and Vision. Now, there's several things you can do to kind of ramp yourself up. You don't have to watch all 23 movies before Friday. You can actually go to a series that was released by Marvel and DC called Legends.
Right. Yeah. Marvel and Disney Plus.
Plus, yes.
Yes.
Yes, and so that gives you, and they're 7-10 minutes.
They're like 6 or 7 minutes long. I watched them last week. So basically, they premiered 2 episodes at once. There's one on Wanda, one on the Vision. And it's essentially just a clip reel of their appearances in the films. So you kind of see from when their characters were introduced up through, when we last saw them in Infinity War and Endgame. And actually, the Vision one, they actually introduced him as Jarvis in Iron Man 1. So.
Okay. All right. Well, and the MCU versions of these characters are greatly different than the comic book versions. So if you're rushing out to read some of the comic books online or go out to your local stores and buy them, wear a mask, the characters themselves are kind of different. Like Wanda in the comic books is the daughter of Magneto.
Mm-hmm. She's a mutant.
She's a mutant in the comics. Vision has had many iterations since his first introduction in 1939. The modern version first appeared in the 60s. And since then, it's gone through many different variations of the character. So if you're thinking of ramping up through the printed medium, keep in mind that the MCU and the comic books are 2 different universes at this point.
Although the one thing that is common to both the MCU and the comics is that Vision and Wanda have a relationship. They're
very much so.
In the comics, and they got married, right? In the comics, eventually they had to get married. So
yes.
The way they were portrayed in the MCU aside from like the backstories, but in terms of the character interaction was very much true to the books.
Yes, yes. They in the comic books they have a relationship. In the comic books they even have kids, twins. And so they're yeah, and the first thing is everybody kind of stopped and went, wait a minute, he's a droid. Yes, he is an android. He's an artificial being, and she is somebody that has the powers to be able to alter and adjust reality.
There you go.
So yeah, you put the pieces together there. Now, you can go to Marvel.com and be able to read about the characters even more. So we're kind of going to uh, kind of focus more on what has been technically released by Marvel and Disney Plus about the characters now. Legend was one of them, and there's two trailers that have been released for the
Yes.
show, and there has been a news packet that was an official description that was released by Disney, and let me pull that up here and um, um, in Ellie.com, they're talking about it, and there is a description that was released by Disney, and it says WandaVision is a blend of classic television and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in which Wanda and Vision, two superpower beings, lived idealized suburban lives, but they began to suspect that everything is not as it seems. And that was their official release. And that was released when everybody thought it was only 6 episodes. So what we have seen in there is you can go through the trailers and dissect it piece by piece by piece, because there's a lot of clues in there. It's just the hovering bottle of wine that Wanda is pouring. The label itself is done in French, but it also says House of Magic if you translate it. There's also other hints of other things sporadically through all the scenes in there. So again, Disney is dancing a fine line of not revealing anything, but revealing enough to make you want to watch it. So because of COVID and everything, this wasn't intended to be the first release on Phase 4.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, first of all, we would have had a couple of films by now. We would have had
Black Widow.
Black Widow and Eternals that were both scheduled to be released last year and had to be pushed back. And then even in terms of the series, originally Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to premiere first.
Yes.
But their production got halted when everything shut down due to the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they were able to finish the principal photography for WandaVision before the pandemic. So they were able to get the episodes ready for this sooner than they were with Falcon and Winter Soldier, which will be the next series to premiere in, I believe, March is what they're speculating.
Now, because Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be released first to introduce Phase 4, then it was supposed to be Black Widow, which supposedly has information or things in there that are supposed to tie together. Has there been any word, or I haven't seen any written word saying that this is going to gum up or mess things up chronologically, but
I don't think so.
Yeah, but I do remember Kevin Feige at a D23, or it was a Comic-Con or something, saying that going forward, nothing is going to be released in chronological order. Because obviously Captain Marvel takes place 30 years ago.
Right.
And that was released before Endgame, but obviously that was out of chronological order, so therefore the mold's been broken.
Right.
So,
plus, if you think about what happened in the story in Endgame, there was all the time travel, and the end of the movie took place in 2023, even though the movie came out in 2019.
Yes.
Because Infinity War was 2018, and then they moved forward 5 years. So the timeline's all kind of distorted anyway. So,
Well,
but no, my understanding in terms of the series, how they lead in, was that, as you said, Falcon and Winter Soldier will be tied to Black Widow,
mhm,
and then my understanding is that WandaVision and Loki. Well, WandaVision is going to be tied into the Doctor Strange film, which is about the multiverse.
mhm.
The Loki, I'm assuming, is going to be tied to the new Thor movie. So
Because also they have the time traveling cops in the Loki series. Because
yes,
he originally escapes in 2012, so therefore he's out of time, or he's been laying low all this time.
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the scenes that we've seen in the trailer for Loki take place in like the 1970s.
Yeah,
So
initially.
so he does go back in time too. So
Yeah, because he's got, yes. So we have all this pieces of information, but none of the puzzle pieces fit together.
right.
But we've seen a lot of other information that have been released by Marvel and DC, talking about the
You mean
series
Disney? You keep saying DC.
DC. Wow.
Marvel DC. It's an easy thing to say those two together. So
Yes. Well, yes. Well, I can't wait till we get to the DC episode. Oh boy, especially with the downfall of Jim Lee, and all the title cancels that are coming up. And so, yeah, well, that's another story entirely. Okay, yeah, Disney Plus.
yeah, Marvel and Disney.
Yes, Marvel and Disney. So a lot of information has been released this week. They've had interviews of the main characters, the main actors in the series, but they're walking a tightrope, not being able to talk about it, but having to talk about it. Um, so what we know is that on Friday they're releasing episodes 1 and 2.
Correct.
Then they're going to be released once a week. There's going to be
Yes.
9 episodes, as far as we know.
Yes. And that's what's showing in IMDb as well.
Okay, and they do hint that this ties together with everything else, but we don't know how it ties together.
And
And
it takes place after the events of Endgame. That's one of the things I
yes,
like to say.
so that is in some type of chronicle order. So if that's the case, then this is to after 2023, and
Or
then
in 2023.
or in 2023. And then a couple of other things that it's not a surprise, like you've told me, is that the Topps Marvel trading card game has released a series of cards, and one of them was for Sword, and it shows Monica in here as an adult, as an agent,
Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau, which we also know is going to appear in Captain Marvel 2.
Correct.
So
And she appeared in the first Captain Marvel as a young girl
in the 90s.
in the 90s. Right. So for those who aren't familiar with her character, in the Captain Marvel film, uh, Carol had the best friend who was also a pilot, and her little girl was and they went to her house in Louisiana, and her little girl was there. Well, the little girl was Monica, who in the comics grew up to be one of the characters to take the Captain Marvel name. So,
Yes. And
but yeah, there have been leaks since they've been in production with the series that have indicated that Sword was going to be introduced. I remember seeing set photos. I thought I saw some from Falcon and Winter Soldier as well, or they may have just been from WandaVision, but with like the Sword logo appearing on, like appearing on the frosted glass on an office building, and people wearing IDs that said Sword on them. So they definitely, it looks like they are bringing Sword in, and plus a lot of people were speculating that after Nick Fury's post-credit scene at the end of the last Spider-Man film. So
now, for the people that haven't seen that, and Marvel kind of started this where they drop in post credit scenes or mid credit scenes that are standalones, or they introduce something that's going to happen in a film that's being released afterwards. And Marvel started doing that back with Iron Man 1.
mm-hmm.
And so in Spider Man 2, they did a scene in there with Nick Fury in there, played by Samuel Jackson,
Samuel Jackson. Hmm.
and that it was hinting at some other storylines that are coming down the road. Just like Feige has been doing since day one, is that there's breadcrumbs dropped into films or recanted in as being breadcrumbs throughout all the films. So for the big fans out there, you can actually tie everything together from Iron Man 1 forward. And there's hint that, like you speculated, is that that scene in Spider-Man 2 was hinting at Sword. I briefly saw something today, and I forgot to pull it up, that they actually have the acronym Sword. Actually, now they've changed the meaning of it.
Okay.
And for the like of me, I should have pulled it up, but I saw that briefly, and I went, "Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to look at it." Didn't. Um, so that actually means something. And there's also another acronym in the MCU, Hammer, and
Hmm.
so there's Sword, Hammer, and Shield. So
Right.
so now we have
And
Sword.
and for those who don't know, basically, sword is like shield in space, pretty much,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Just
yeah,
to to simplify it, that's basically what it is.
yes. For the people that are unaware, and it's going to be a little hard not to be aware, there was another TV series that ran for 7 years called Marvel Agents of Shield, which dealt with kind of like the super spies of the Marvel universe interacting with super beings when when it happened. And so this is Sword is super spies in space. That's overly simplified.
Yes, just we don't have a lot of time here, Patrick. Want to keep us moving, so.
Okay, well then we'll go back to the beginning, 1964. Yeah. So okay. So there's a lot of speculation out there on a lot of guesswork and things that people are trying to put the pieces together and what information has been officially released and all the rumor mills that are out there. Um, the couple of things I heard was that this is going to involve the multiverse, like that you talked about with Doctor Strange, and they're going to then introduce characters from such as like Fox films and things in this. That's a speculation. What rumors do you have?
So I've seen some people speculating that I guess there was a storyline in the comics where Wanda was using her magic powers to create their kids, and basically
Yeah,
the if she stopped using her powers, the kids would cease to exist. And so there's some speculation that somehow that's tied into everything that we're seeing in WandaVision, because they're in some type of altered reality. One thing we do know, and so some people have been able to preview the first three episodes,
yes.
and you can also see this from the trailers, is that the first three episodes are being done in the style of traditional TV sitcoms.
Hmm.
And I did hear this, and I believe I heard this in one of the interviews with the actors. So basically, the first three episodes are three different decades. So they do like a 50s style sitcom, then a 60s style sitcom, and then a 70s style sitcom in those first three episodes. And then the story is going to kind of go in a different direction from there, where we don't know.
Hmm.
But those first three episodes, and it's definitely one of the things they've really pushed with the trailers and a lot of the advertising and what have you, um, is that we're it's being done in the style of a traditional sitcom. So it's putting um, Vision and Wanda, and they even say that in the trailer. They're these superpower beings, but they're living a quiet suburban life, like in TV suburbia on a sitcom. So the first episode that's 50 style is supposed to be done in the style of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and then I know the 70s episode is supposed to be done in the style of the Brady Bunch. So
Okay. Yeah.
that's some of what we know.
Speaking of the three, the storylines that it's pulling from, like you said, the storyline of her creating her kids is because he's an artificial being and she's a human, well, mutant in the comics. Um, so her she manifested her children because she's able to pull reality, but to keep that spell running all the time for the kids, every time that she was saving the world and she had to focus more on saving the world, the babysitters that had I've read all these comics, by the way, that were babysitting the kids would disappear and they'd freak out. So when one would come back, they're saying the kids are gone, and she'd rush into the room and there they were. So she was firing babysitters all the time because the kids would disappear because she had to focus on saving the world. And so
Surprised nobody called DCFS on her.
exactly. And I, um, no, Agatha, the babysitter from the Fantastic Four, Agatha. Um, I've forgotten her last name. Oh, I'm going to have my geek card taken away. She, Agatha, the one that was babysitting the Fantastic Four.
Franklin,
Hmm?
Franklin Richards.
Yes. They loaned her out to the Avengers so Wanda would have this, and when that happened in front of Agatha, who was a witch, um, made Wanda realize that, okay, you vent reality to this, and they had this humongous storyline of her realizing that she did this and this can't be possible, which put an enormous strain on on Vision's and Wanda's relationship. They ended up at one point, divorcing and all this stuff, and that was from the Avengers comic. But there was another set of storyline that came from um, um, uh, what was that called? I talked about it before we started recording. It was on the bottle of wine in the trailer.
Oh, the House of Magic.
The House of Magic set of comics. There, she went in there. The storyline in there is that she actually literally destroyed reality because she was flipping out about her powers. And then there was a third storyline, which they're speculating, this is speculation only, from the Vision short story comic book from Tom King, which was Vision being part of a nuclear family in the suburbs because he had an artificial wife and artificial kids and an artificial dog that he built based on his mechanics. And it was a 12-issue miniseries, and how he dealt with trying to be a normal suburb type of family, but still having to be part of the Avengers and saving the world every few days. So it's just so there's those three um, groupings of stories. People are speculating they're going to be pulling from, and because it's in the comedy TV series that we're seeing in the first two episodes, first three episodes. But there's also people are talking about that have seen the episodes, is that it sets things up in the first three episodes. It kind of builds the world. It gets everybody in the right mindset for the rest of the series.
Right.
So going by what we know about the characters, what the MCU is seeing, and we've seen the trailers and the information we've got online, do you have any, insight that any speculations that you can pull from, or think that you can reveal anything?
This is just pure speculation,
Right.
but I'm assuming that that this altered reality that they're in, this town they're in, where they're living this idyllic sitcom suburban life, is somehow some type of spell that Wanda has cast.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in the films, the Vision was killed at the end of Infinity War. So has he been resurrected, or is she just bending reality to have him appear, but he's really not here? So that's one of the things I guess we're going to find out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see once we start seeing some of the episodes. But the reaction from the preview of those first three episodes has been very positive so far. People have really liked the series. They say it's something different from what's been done with the MCU so far, and a lot of really good feedback on the acting performances by both Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany as the two main characters. So interested to see how it's going to all play out.
But I've dissected the trailers to death and trying to read between the lines. Yes, she alters reality a lot, but since Sword is involved, I'm thinking is that this is a controlled environment.
Hmm.
You know, it's she's in a cage.
Could
Um,
be, could be.
and Vision in the comic books has been destroyed or dismantled multiple of times. He's an artificial being, so he can't really technically be killed, even though that he had a Infinity Stone in his forehead, and it was almost partially removed before he was killed. So
Hmm.
I'm thinking that, you know, again,
Was the rest of his consciousness still saved?
yes, because it's like a hard drive. You know, they were removing a part of him that wasn't necessary
Right.
because you know she said I can Shiri, you know, for the people that haven't seen Infinity War, um, in Wakanda, the best scientist they have, Suri, who was the sister of Black Panther. For all the people going like, this is too much, just follow me. She was tasked with the job of removing the Infinity Stone that was first put into Vision's forehead to activate him. And she goes, well, no, this is done in such a way that I could unwire this. So
Right.
she had to go in there and take all the neural network and undo it. And so she was on the middle of doing that before it was interrupted, and he had to go fight Thanos, and he got the stone removed from his forehead. But he's an artificial droid, artificial
Right.
being.
Right. Well, and in that part of Infinity War, Bruce Banner was also pointing out that in addition to the Infinity Stone, that there was also parts of Jarvis in there, parts of Ultron, parts of Tony. That he said that there should be enough of him that if we remove the stone, he'll still exist.
Right.
He'll still be in there. So
Yes.
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think your point about it being something involving Sword could be the case because in the one trailer when they show Monica Rambeau, it's showing where she's in the '70s sitcom scene, and she says, "Well, who are you?" And Monica says, "Oh, I don't know." So it's like she's maybe dropped into this program or whatever, and she doesn't quite know who she is. It's
Mhm.
messing with her memory. So we'll see how that plays out. And definitely some of the scenes in the film or in the trailer seem to indicate some part of the story taking place outside of this um, reality where they show like there's like some military vehicles and Vision is like floating in the air about to confront some military or paramilitary organization, perhaps they're sword agents. We don't know. So,
Yeah, and
um,
also the part of the trailer where they see a guy climbing out of the manhole.
mm-hmm,
That was to me reminded me a lot of an AIM costume because there's an evil organization that of all scientists. It's called AIM, Advanced Ideas Mechanics.
which they did introduce in Iron Man 3, was it?
Yes.
Yes.
So therefore, him climbing out of this, you know, hints either that AIM has been, you know, since they were dismantled, they're using AIM tech, part of Sword, and also since this is part of Sword and this is part of Nick Fury, which takes, you know, they have the high tech from the skulls. So all of this, you know, it's, you know, this artificial environment that they've put Wanda into keep her under control. They may be just doing this to pacify her until they're able to reactivate Vision. I think that, you know, and this is speculation on my part, but I'm
Sure.
thinking that that Vision is all in her head. She's created
Or,
Vision, and he's not activated yet. So I'm speculating I'm guessing at the end of the series, she breaks out of this environment that they have her under, and she finds that Vision's been reactivated.
okay. Or could it be that she's in a cage and she's being held by AIM, and then Sword is coming to release her?
Wow!
I don't, just
Wow! Boom!
that just popped in my head when you brought up
Boom!
AIM. So
Oh my
I don't know.
God, that makes
Just
so much more sense.
just complete total speculation here. I
Oh,
just thought of that when you brought up AIM. So because
I,
they're obviously bad guys in the books. So
look, goose pimples. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. that
So they,
makes oh, it just yes, somehow or another she got captured by them because you don't see her after Endgame,
well, you see her at the very end of Endgame when they're having the
the funeral.
the funeral for Tony.
Yes.
So um, now another thing that has potentially been revealed is that there's 9 episodes, and so supposedly the structure is like three kind of story arcs. So the first 3 episodes will be this sitcom world that we'll be in, and then I'm not sure about the middle part, but then the last three are supposed to be very much more like our what we've seen from MCU films. It's supposed to be an Avengers type of presentation. So I did hear in one of the interviews with Paul Bettany, who plays the Vision, he said that they use more CGI for this season of WandaVision than they did for Endgame.
Ah,
So we can expect to see a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, some of that is Wanda and Vision using their powers, but what
right.
else are we going to see? So,
Well, yeah, because we saw Vision flying and above the city. So,
right,
okay. Wow.
and of course, one of the cool Easter eggs in the trailers also is them wearing their comic accurate costumes. It looks like it's supposed to be Halloween,
Hmm.
but Wanda is wearing the red suit with the headpiece,
Hmm.
which she wears, which Scarlet Witch, as she's called in the comics, wears. And then Vision is wearing the green suit with the yellow cape, and it looks more like what he wore in the comics, at least in the 60s and 70s when he was first introduced. So it should be interesting.
Yes, yes, yes. So, okay, so what we know so far is that everything is out of order because of COVID. This is being the first thing released for phase four, but it's not necessarily the first thing that is supposed to be released. So, therefore, what we see in the next 9 weeks is going to take place
8 weeks,
8
because they're
weeks.
doing 2 episodes the first week. So
Right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. 8 weeks may have to do with what the other things that are coming out with. Black Widow, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, uh, Loki, and
Eternals,
Internals. All this.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Oh my God, I forgot about that. The Ten Rings. So all of those may have pieces that are supposed to have been introduced first, but this is coming out first. So therefore, since Feige has said in the past, after Captain Marvel came out, is that things are going to be released, but not necessarily in chronological order. So if you're used to what the first 23 movies were being in chronological order, don't worry about that going forward. It's things are going to be released when they're going to be released, and there's supposed and he has. I just got through reading that he actually has everything mapped out 5 and 6 years ahead of schedule. So everything
He's
going,
had a lot of time on his hands the last year
yeah.
since they haven't had any movies coming out. And couldn't even do any filming for a while there. So
Oh no, no. And then on top of that, they own Fox, and all the Marvel property is now back underneath Marvel. So now he's got to figure out how to fold all that into this.
right, how are we going to see the Fantastic Four introduced? How are we going to see mutants in general and the X-Men in particular introduced? So
Yeah,
um,
so what we know is coming out. Behind that, there's another 5 or 6 years that he has already on paper.
well, and in addition to the projects we just talked about, that's the stuff that's coming in the next year or so. You've
Yes.
got the Doctor Strange multiverse movie,
Ah, yes.
the Thor Lord of Thunder film, which will include at least some of the members of Guardians of the Galaxy, because we're
Yes.
left with them. You have Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Ant-Man 3,
The Galaxy 3,
Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Guardian of the
the
Galaxy's Christmas special.
Christmas special. You have the Blade reboot.
Yes.
You have, and then other series we have coming are Hawkeye,
I forgot
What
about that.
If, She-Hulk,
Yes.
Miss Marvel, and Moon Knight.
Mo-
So those are all coming too. So,
and Mordok.
oh right, right,
And so who was a who was built by AIM. And but that's and so and all
Oh,
of
and then the Secret Invasion
oh,
limited series, which will be on Disney Plus too, which with Nick Fury and the Skrulls,
and then Armor Wars.
and Armor Wars, and Ironheart too, right? Or is
Yes,
Ironheart part of Armor Wars?
I well
I
the
think Ironheart's going to be a separate series, right?
yeah the
Oh
rumor
yeah,
mill is that she is introduced in Iron
in
War
Armored Wars,
Armor Wars and then gets her own. So
and we know for sure War Machine will be part of Armored Wars.
yes, yeah. So and will he become Armor Patriot at that point? Who knows?
Well, he
Uh,
already was in what was that, Iron Man
three?
3? Yeah, he was
Oh,
Iron
Iron Man
Patriot.
two.
Iron Man 3,
Iron Man three.
right? It was Iron Man 3,
And they're bringing back Hammer, Justin Hammer,
right?
for
It
Armor
was,
Wars.
well, that would make sense if they're bringing AIM back. So
Yeah. So we just named 15 things. So 2022 forward, we know 15 things already, and that's not folding in everything else that's going to be involved. So it
oh,
just
oh, and I forgot to mention Spider-Man 3 too.
and
They're already working on that. So
Venom and Venom 2.
right,
So
and Mobius, right?
Mobius, oh yeah, that's been delayed until the fall of 2022.
Yeah. And then just came out this week that uh, they will do a Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds, and it will be part of the MCU, and
Yeah,
it will be R-rated.
yes. So how are they going to do this on Disney Plus? Is going to be an interesting.
Well, I'm assuming Deadpool will be released at the theaters if we ever go back to movie theaters. You
What's a movie theater?
know. For me, it's my living room nowadays. So,
Living room, kitchen, bathroom.
well, the
Uh,
living room, I've got the big screen with the surround sound, so it's
ah,
it's pop some popcorn, and I almost feel like I'm there.
yes, yes. Oh yeah, yeah, proper.
There you
Um,
go.
you know, that this is going to set off phase four, not in the right order. We have hard comments from Marvel and Disney. We have the rumor mill, and we have people that have dissected the trailers to death. And we also know from the characters and the casting, we know we can extrapolate things that we know are going to happen, such as sword and aim, and but how all these tiny little components and all the images that were in the trailers fit together. We have no idea. We know that it's happening in three parts, and we know that it's heavy CGI because of all their powers and everything. So
And
now,
well, if it's involving altered reality, then I mean that would explain a lot of the CGI too. So
right, and are they going to explain if Vision's back or is Vision alive or dead? And you
and
know,
there's even been speculation online since the series was announced that will Quicksilver make a reappearance, who of course was killed in Age of Ultron, and there's also some speculation because WandaVision will tie into Doctor Strange too, that perhaps Doctor Strange may make a cameo at some point in the series. Nothing confirmed. That's all complete rumor and speculation, but we know that with Marvel, things like that can happen without us anticipating it. They like to keep things secret. So
yes, 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 and also they just let the rumor mill run, and so fuel to the fire. All right. So this is our pre-episode. What we're going to do is we're going to let the one and two happen. We're going to absorb it, probably watch it multiple times, pick our jaws off the floor, and they'll reconvene next week, and we'll do a post on it and what we've seen, what we speculate, how this is going to set up the next 7 episodes, and go from there. Now, what you can do is that you can go and throw in your comments and everything on the website, geekculture.online. You can go to our Facebook page, Geek Culture Online. You can go to our Twitter at Your Geek Culture, and throw in your comments, and what your speculations and everything in there. And we'd also like to see what you thought of the first 2 episodes. So we want to see your comments, and we'll read those on the air. Anything else from what we've seen so far?
Specific to WandaVision, or are we
Yeah.
okay?
Or the MCU as a whole.
No, I think we've covered everything for right now.
All right.
We'll have to watch those first 2 episodes, and then we can take it from there.
Yep. Yep. So listen to me screaming on, as each episode airs, and we'll go from there. So,
and we do know the first 3 episodes, which have been previewed, are all roughly 30 minutes. But after the first 3 episodes, the episodes may or may not be longer. Part of the reason they did the 30 minutes is, again, it's TV sitcom, right? And how long is a typical TV sitcom? Is 30 minutes. So
that is.
But we've known from other if you watch other streaming shows, whether it's on Disney Plus or other services, one thing about streaming is they're not set to a time schedule, so episodes will vary in length from episode to episode, oftentimes on streaming shows. Mandalorian is a great example of that. So Mandalorian, some of the episodes were closer to 30 minutes, some of them were closer to an hour, some of them were 40 minutes. So I imagine we'll see the same kind of thing with WandaVision and with other series as they come out.
Yes, especially with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Who knows how that's going to play out? So yes, and streaming. There's no set rules anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I did hear Feige say about specific to WandaVision is that he said they did have the option to drop all the episodes at once, but he said that he felt there was kind of a fun in having a new episode drop each week to kind of keep the suspense up and get everyone engaged. And one of the things I read too is that Disney with Disney Plus wanted to keep that going as well, because they did the same thing with Mandalorian, where they've had episodes coming out once a week, and it kind of keeps the buzz going. With some of these other shows, when they drop a season at once, people binge it in one weekend and they're like, okay, that was great, now I'm going to move on to the next thing. Whereas if it's coming out once a week, kind of keeps people talking about it. And every week, hey, did you see this week's episode? Did you see what happened this week? Well, what do you think is going to happen next week? So it's kind of bringing that aspect of television back to things,
Yes, which I sort of miss, because sitting down and watching 10, 12, 14 hours all at once, kind of, it's one and done, and then, you want more, and then you have to wait 2 or 3 years.
Right, or at least a year usually for the next season, yeah.
Exactly. So,
and not to mention your butt might be asleep from sitting on the couch that long. So
yes, and you can only eat so much popcorn.
Right. Can you? Is there a limit on how much popcorn you can
eat? I'll try to find it. All right. Well, again, I want to thank you again, Ethan, for coming.
Thanks, Patrick. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, and everybody, don't forget, write your comments about after seeing it, what you thought of it. So, all right. Well, I'm Patrick.
I'm Ethan.
And thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see ya.
Thank you for listening to our latest episode. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can reach us on Facebook at Geek Culture Online and on Twitter at Your Geek Culture. Until next time, I'm your host, Patrick Pohl.